Hi, welcome to Growing in Uncertainty. My name is Tess Miller. My seminar and coaching business, Wings Unfolded, focuses on helping professionals who love what they do, but they're not sure where it's going. My intention with these videos is to let you look under the hood, so to speak, of how I work with my life uncertainties, and my goal is to share with you my experiences. My experience with uncertainty is that there are massive opportunities to grow towards your full potential, especially when life is the most uncertain. So I hope that what I share helps you work with and grow from your uncertainty. So last week I shared my focus word for 2021, which is freedom. And my mission this year is to share a topic related to the word freedom every single week. This week's topic, I'm just going to kind of put a warning out there that this week's topic is about the events that happened last week at the Capitol. Well, it's not really about those events, but I am going to be referencing those events. As you likely know, a group of people stormed the Capitol in Washington, D.C. There were some people who died, many people who were injured, and a lot of damage was done not only physically to the Capitol, but also to, I think, a lot of people's sense of the possibility of unity and trust. The ability for us to work together as a nation. There was some damage to that hope for many of us. So before I want to go on, I want to say that I have absolutely zero intention for my videos to become political. I will, however, always use significant events from my life or in the collective experience that further my own understanding and growth as a person and as a coach. So I'm going to highlight different perspectives and mindsets that can be used for healing and transformation. And I want to be very clear about how I'm using this particular topic, because I do not intend to get into a political dialogue or a rant. So it's important to me to create an environment in which you all can feel safe and supported, while maybe not always having to subscribe to one belief or another. So let's dive in. There's no way for me to completely know and understand all the whys of what happened at the Capitol, but I do want to share something that I see when taking a step back and looking at it from a different angle. The angle I want to look from has to do with expectation. It doesn't take a genius to see that there are a lot of people who are pretty upset about the presidential election results. They expected their guy to win, but he didn't. I, too, have been very upset by presidential, gubernatorial, and other election results that I expected to go a certain way. And knowing that I've had that experience, even if I may not agree with these particular people, knowing that I've had that experience is a small doorway, at least for me, to be able to empathize with how the Capitol stormers might be feeling. We get triggered the most when our expectations are not met. We start to fear that we might lose something from our lives that we really need or want or expect to have. We start to feel like life isn't going the way that we expect it to. And we start to worry, if this isn't going the way I want it to, what are the changes that are going to come about because of this? What if I'm unhappy? We start to darkly fantasize about the worst case scenarios, and start setting up new negative expectations about what we think will happen. So here's a small example from my life to illustrate how expectations can work. I apologize first to my mother and father because this is a story that has been told many times in my family, and I know brings about some feelings. So when I was about 5, I was told that we were going to see the Disney movie Peter Pan. We liked to go to our small town movie theater that had the capacity to only show one movie at a time per week. And as these were in the ancient times before the internet, the only way to find out what movie was showing was by looking at the newspaper, which is how my parents knew that Peter Pan was showing at our local theater. When we got to the movie theater, the poster that said "now showing" was not showing that they were showing Peter Pan. They had a completely different movie poster in the frame. I pointed this out to my parents, but they swore up and down that the newspaper said that Peter Pan was playing. Perhaps this was the last night and the people running the movie theater wanted to get the new poster into the frame while they had a chance. I bought the explanation. So we got tickets and we got our popcorn and we found our seats. And as the credits were rolling, the opening credits, I knew that this was not Peter Pan. Nothing about it was Peter Pan or Disney. This was definitely a live action movie. The opening scene, in fact, was quite violent. And when I whispered to my parents that, hey guys, I really don't think this is Peter Pan, they said, oh, no, these are just the previews. It's going to be okay. But the preview kept going. It seemed like it was setting up a plot and a storyline. And finally it dawned on my parents that this was, in fact, the movie that we were sitting down to see. But it wasn't Peter Pan. So we left the theater, and my parents asked the attendant in the booth, hey, we thought we were coming here to see Peter Pan. What's up with this? And they said, oh, no, Peter Pan finished last night. You must have been looking at an old newspaper. And sure enough, we got home, and my parents looked at the paper, and they saw that the date was from a while back. So in this example, there were a lot of expectations flying around. My parents expected the newspaper to be right. That was their expectation. So much so that they ignored all of the literal and figurative signs that were saying that Peter Pan was not showing. I too had expectations. I expected to see Peter Pan. But as a kid, I wasn't as connected to my expectations. I was able to remain open to what I was seeing and experiencing in the moment. Please know that I am not using this story in any way to blame my parents, although it has been a fun story to hold over them from time to time. I am sharing it to show how rigid expectations can make us blind to what we're actually experiencing in our lives. So let's go back to the people who stormed the Capitol. They expected their leader to win the election. They were also reacting to a lot of the events that we're all experiencing from this last year. The pandemic prevented them from feeling a certain amount of freedom that they had once experienced before the pandemic, that all of us had experienced before the pandemic. And their expectation was that their leader, who represents freedom to them, would help them get their freedom back. From what I've read, they also have a lot of other expectations about what freedom means to them, and how it should or should not apply to others that maybe don't look like them or share the same values. Their expectation that freedom should look a certain way is actually making them stuck. The fact that they stormed the Capitol in a rage shows that they're stuck in feeling their anger and feeling like they have to fight for their lives. They're also stuck in their expectations of what they think will happen with someone who's not their chosen leader. So what is the reality of what's going on? Well, there are a lot of people in government who are trying to figure out how to get through this moment in time. There's not just one person. It never ever falls on just one person to be the end all be all solution finder of any situation. I've learned that every time in my life when the person I voted for didn't win, I too experienced the fear that my world would end. My actual experience, though, was that life went on, and actually, in a lot of ways, good things came out of having the other person win the election. It might have been in roundabout ways, but there was good that came out of that situation. There were opportunities that might not have been there had my person won. So the reality is that all things in life will be as good or bad as you think they'll be. It's just all about perspective and mindset. Okay, so we've looked at the Capitol stormers and how they are keeping themselves stuck in a certain reality that may or may not be serving them. But I want you to take a look at your life right now. When were you disappointed by having an unmet expectation? What did you do? How did you react? Did you storm some proverbial Capitol in your life that you wish that you hadn't? What were the consequences of your actions or inactions? There are so many times in my life, believe me, that I wish I could take back my actions or inactions after my expectations were dashed in some way. Having an awareness of those times, however, is such an incredible gift that you can use going forward. So what can you do the next time you're caught in some rigid expectations for your life? I created an acronym for that, and the acronym is Be Here. The B stands for breathe. Take some deep belly breaths when you recognize that you are in this moment of having an expectation that's not met. Breathing deeply slows your thoughts and any of your reactionary emotions so that you can start to get a clearer perspective on what's really happening. It helps you to stay present. The E of be here is experience your feelings. Invite all of your feelings to the table. There are no good or bad feelings. Remember that it only takes 90 seconds for strong emotions to calm down. The H stands for honor your feelings. Acknowledge and validate every single emotion that comes to the surface. You can say things to yourself like, it makes sense that I'm upset about not getting this job because I really wanted it and I worked hard on that application. Let yourself feel your feelings. The E stands for express the story you're telling yourself. And the story I'm telling myself is that because I didn't get that job, I will never find a job like that again. Or maybe the story is that because I didn't get that job, that means nobody wants to hire me. The R in Be Here stands for retell the story from someone else's perspective. In the job scenario, maybe you might imagine your friend telling you, dude, there are other jobs out there. Or you might imagine a parent saying, maybe that wasn't the right job for you. Or a mentor might say, if the door didn't open, it wasn't your door, but keep trying doors. So try to imagine different ways to look at what's happening with your expectation not being met. Retell yourself the story in a positive way or in a neutral way. The E in Be Here is for embrace all the possibilities. There are infinite possibilities of the way that things can play out in life. Just because your expectations aren't met doesn't mean that things aren't going to turn out in your favor in the long run. Maybe you'll find another job that's even better suited to you and with more pay. Maybe you'll get a promotion at your current job that you couldn't see coming. Maybe you'll meet the love of your life in the next month at your current job, but if you'd gotten the other job, you might never have met. There are infinite possibilities. Connecting into the present moment, being here, is a way to touch into the freedom that is always in our lives, that we always have access to if we let it, if we stay open to all the possibilities. Stephen Hawking, the theoretical physicist, is quoted as saying, "My expectations were reduced to zero when I was 21. Everything since then has been a bonus." At 21, Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with ALS and was wheelchair bound for the rest of his life. Looking at him, you might think all freedom was lost because of his disease. However, the reality was that he went on to have a family, a career. After his death, he still continues to inspire future generations of physicists, and the list goes on from there. It might sound like I'm saying, don't have any expectations in life. But what I'm trying to suggest is that you dream big, want things to happen in your life, hope for things to happen, but let go of the attachment to rigid expectations. Any attachment to how you think something should be will always lead you to suffering. Or it might lead you to storming the Capitol or damaging yours or another's life in some way. Be here in the present moment. Stay open to the process. And remember that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. I'd love to hear from any of you on any of my platforms. You can find me on Facebook under my business name, Wings Unfolded, or you can find me by name, Tess Miller, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Feel free to send me a private message. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to work with me, I'm offering free complimentary sessions so you can see what that would be like, what coaching would be like, and how it can help you get unstuck. To set that up, visit my website, www.tess-miller.com. And if you want more free stuff, please subscribe to my weekly email list. That's how you can get updates on my live shows, developments in my offerings, and any free resources I create and send your way. Remember that it's okay to be stuck, but you don't have to stay there. Take care and have an awesome week.